What's funny about Becton, I went on a rant about this a few weeks back when he first got hurt. As much as I like Mekhi Becton as a player, the thing that worries me about him is the fact that he has difficulty staying healthy. And I mean, for such an incredibly large man, this is, again, the second major injury that he's had. Eventually, there starts coming a time where the hourglass starts getting smaller and smaller as to your NFL career. Because then you could be one injury away from never walking again. I got into an argument with Ray Mallard about this back and forth, like just in regards to the whole Mekhi Becton thing. Shout out to Eddie Delgado El Chapo giving me some love over here on Facebook. Just the whole notion of, I get it that it's a business, but Becton's also a human being and we should look at it from the human being. And I really laced into the whole Mekhi Becton injury. I went absolutely off. And I mean, like, look, Ray's going to feel the way he feels. I'm going to feel the way that I feel. Right now, I'm not kind of looking at Mekhi Becton as a person. I'm looking at Mekhi Becton as a player where, like, dude, we had so many high hopes for you. You put out all these hype videos. You put out all this hype stuff and friggin' Instagram about all the work you're doing and how you're trying to get back lean, mean, hungry. You want to prove everything to the world, and then all of a sudden you get hurt. Now, granted, I get it. It's a freak injury. Could have happened to anybody because it's a non-contact injury. Take a look at Zach Wilson. He ended up hurting his knee from a non-contact injury just by trying to juke instead of sliding. It's such a touchy subject when you talk about Mekhi Becton sometimes with other Jet fans. It really is. Because the thought is that, oh, Mekhi Becton could make this offensive line elite if he's healthy. But there's the thing. If he's healthy, come on, guys. You got to stay healthy. You got to stay healthy for us to get excited. And right now, the kid can't stay healthy. And depending upon the severity of the injury, if he can't come back next year and compete for that roster spot, Joe Douglas may have no choice but to move on from him. And especially if Dwayne Brown comes in here after signing with him and he completely just balls out and turns into a monster, then you have to consider keeping Dwayne Brown around long term. Blake McLaughlin, what position group will we waiver claim as a priority? Still going to be offensive line, dude. We have to. I still want to see some stuff at center. So Connor McDermott still bothers me a little bit at center. I still think that we need to have our center of the future out there. We still need to have depth at the tackle position. We still need to have depth at the guard position. I'm still not comfortable where we are. And there's also depth at the linebacker position, dude, because you got C.J. Mosley and Quan Alexander and Quincy Williams. All right, you got to hope that everybody behind them are going to be ready to step up. So we'll see. Shout out to Johnny Rodriguez, giving me some love on Facebook. Blake's guess is interior defensive line, sure. But you know what? We may not need to look at interior defensive line if we can get that push up the middle. Because remember something, now that you got Carl Lawson, all right, you got JFM, all right, you got some other people that they have out there, Clemens, Jermaine Johnson. They got pass rushes out the ass right now. But all these pass rushes need to be able to go in and do some damage. But you also need to be able to stop the run. So I think what the Jets need, if you go out there and you're going to get anything, you need to get a legitimate run stuffer. That's what I'd like to see. Do you know if Brian is getting reps, he needs to gel with this playbook? I do know that he's been practicing. I do not know if he's been on the field actually taking practice reps. So I could be wrong. Again, this is some of the stuff that I'm reading secondhand and third hand. Flacco needs to get reps. Hasn't played in almost a year. I agree. Love Lawrence Cager. He was a dark horse that I had a couple of years ago when we signed him and as an undrafted free agent. I pictured Denzel Mims and Lawrence Cager on the field at the same time. Like, dude, the Twin Towers right there. Just two tall, athletic, freakishly fast receivers that could just absolutely maul you. Should have addressed Becton in the draft for free agency. Yep, I agree. You already know how I feel about that. Every injury he gets is season ending. He's not labeled injury prone. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not best friends with any of these players. I'm not family either. I'm a Jets fan. So if you can't help this team have a nice life, cut or trade him and move on. I agree. Exactly, you have to pay attention to that defensive tackle position. Tommy Gutman, thank you again. John Suggs, he have a fractured kneecap, meaning he's not going to be stretching with his weight issue. Would not surprise me if he gets hurt again before week 2. I would take the dead cap hit and move on. Solomon Thomas, everybody very, very high on Solomon Thomas. Jacob Martin, Blake McLaughlin. Will Zach be able to rehab on schedule, or will the MILFs delay his timeline? Yo, that is the question of the night. Yes, if Zach Wilson can keep it in his pants, I think his timeline will be good, but I still don't think he doesn't start until week 2. But, in my opinion, if we end up beating the Ravens with Joe Flacco as quarterback, and Flacco has a good game, and this offense moves, I think you ride the hot hand until Flacco goes cold.